Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford, so grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to another episode of Just Minding My Business. I hope your day was full of purpose and love. Coming to the mic today is Ruth Haskins, who is known as the Power Play Lady. And she is the creator of the Power Play Reconnect Blueprint. Ruth has served in the radio and television broadcasting industry as an announcer, writer, producer, and voice actor. Ruth is also a valuable member of a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and she is the voice of many of our marketing material that requires voice. I am also excited to announce that Ruth Haskins will be co-hosting this show going forward, so you will get to hear her beautiful voice on many of the broadcasts coming down the pike. Well, welcome to the show, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Ida. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, Ruth, tell us a little bit how you got on the road of the Power Play Lady. How did you get that name?
Oh, my. Actually, it came out of a workshop that I did a few years ago, and it was a workshop. It was very spontaneous. It was something that I didn't know what I was doing. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know what I was doing. And I had learned, I had received some information from a book that was very powerful for me. It's Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And in it, she talks about creativity and how important creativity is. And I think I was in a place in my life where I needed to explore my own creativity because I had shut the doors on it, so to speak, and shoveled it off into a corner. So I did this workshop, and one of the things that I did, not knowing that that's what I was doing, I encouraged people to play. That's what we did during the entire workshop. We did all types of little exercises, so to speak, in which we played. One of them was rock painting. And in doing that, they came up with I just gave them what they needed, some paint, and they bought their own rocks, and there were some other little odds and ends that I threw in, and they went to town. And I watched these women, these are all adults, begin to giggle and laugh and really have fun. And then they were so overjoyed, really, with the results that when I talked about it again, I had to sit back and figure out what happened because I really didn't understand it. But when I started investigating play and how powerful play is, that play is actually, number one, a God-given gift, and number two, it is a vital life tool. It is something that we absolutely require in our lives, from childhood, from infancy, all the way through our senior years. And so I kind of dubbed myself the Power Play Lady because of the power of play, and that's what I present to people.
All right. That sounds like a very, very interesting concept and something that as adults we don't think about because we're so busy pursuing that we don't take time out to really just have fun and do things just because.
You know what? And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I love the way you said we don't just take time out to have fun and do things just because. And that's one of the things that I try to bring to people's attention. Many people will say, well, I do play. I play golf. I play basketball. We have a regular card playing session, but that's not really play. All of those things have rules, and there's an expected outcome. That is not play. Play is spontaneous. It taps into our creativity. It refreshes us. There are no rules. And that's the thing that we've gotten away from, I think, because we look at children and play is fine for children. But you know as well as I do that at some point as a child, you were told you're too big for that. Stop playing. That's enough. And after a while, you began to believe it. And then you go into the upper grades, and there's, especially now today, it's all about competitive sports. And people think that sports is sports. Sports are sports. It's not play. It's a whole different mindset. Once competition comes into it, it's something totally different from play. Play is something that comes from inside of you and finds an expression. And I think the last time we spoke, I talked about the snowball fight. You know, a really good definition of play is a good snowball fight that just is instantaneous. It comes out of nowhere. Everybody gets involved, and you end up laughing, soaking wet, but you walk away from it with this sort of exhilaration and joy in yourself. And it exposes who you are to yourself. And sometimes to other people, because people will say, ooh, that's a really person, I won't do that again because they didn't take it well. So we can learn, play teaches us things about ourselves as well.
And I know for a fact, I remember as an adult on those little, what you call them, the snowboard thing. I think we had a big snow, and I had a snowboard, and I said, let me go down here and slide on the snow a little bit. And I'm telling you, I had so much fun.
That's awesome.
I had so much fun, and that probably happened maybe, 10 or more years ago. But it's in my brain just like it happened yesterday. I can remember every detail of it.
That's what you call play. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that you had that experience, because that's an awesome example of what play is. And it's an awesome example of what we don't allow ourselves to do. Most of us, sometimes play requires risk. You know, you don't want to do anything terribly risky. But sometimes play requires, I remember years ago, yes, I can say it's been years ago, that I learned how to cross-country ski. And the first time I was just learning how to do it, I terrified the instructor because I lost control, was sliding down the hill, and became 1 inch short of slamming into a tree. I was laughing hysterically. The poor instructor was like, terrified. But after that, it was like once I got past that, I was good to go. And we need more of that as adults. We need to get out, maybe try something that you haven't tried in a long time. I know a lot of grown-ups now are trying skating, roller skating. And I had a friend who did that a little while ago. And she said, it's been years since I've done it, but I had the most fun. She said, I ended up on my high knee more than once, but I had the most fun. The children didn't have as much fun as I was having. We so need that. We need that because, like I said, play introduces us to ourselves, places in ourselves that we've forgotten. May I ask you, when you did the snowboarding, what did you kind of like come to know about yourself that maybe you had forgotten?
Well, at that time, let me just think about that, because when I did the snowboarding, it was, as a kid, we always played in the snow. Always played in the snow. And I found that as an adult, snow became, oh, my God, I got to travel, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, and I can't get to it. Oh, but on that particular day, it was all about just getting on that snowboard. I fell over a couple of times and rolled around in the snow a few times, but it was all funny, and it just made me feel like a kid again, actually. And it made me realize that I still had that kid in me in terms of being able to really have a great time just snowboarding.
Awesome.
Because a lot of times we look at just for example, the snow. Maybe we had something planned that day. Now it's going to snow, you can't do it.
Interesting. I think you hit the nail on the head. It reintroduces us to that kid that's inside of us, that child that never dies. It's always there, even though we grow up and we da-da-da-da-da-da. But that part of us is always alive. And I know there have been books and readings written about, the inner child. But that child tells us and actually directs who we are if we are able to listen to that child's voice in ourselves. And I am of the firm belief, and I know other people share this belief, that even possibly from conception, this new human knows exactly who they are. But as soon as they come into this world, all of a sudden there's all these people, well-meaning adults, who begin to reformulate this child, remold them. And as a result, that child's voice, that knowing voice, gets cut out. And to the point that after a while, they're adults. We depend on them for food, clothing, shelter, and much, much else. So we listen to them. And as a result, that part of us gets shut down. And then we grow up and we realize that we have to be responsible. And we shut down even further because now it becomes a matter of surviving in this world. And we forget the child that we once were. And yet within that child is the answer to so many of life's problems. One of the things that I do with the Power Play Reconnect is that I work with seniors, people who are in life transitions. Maybe they're getting ready to retire, or they've had a major illness. Maybe they've lost a spouse. And these life transitions often leave us in a place where we suddenly wake up and we don't know who we are anymore. All of our identity seems to have shifted so far that we're left with this void. And what I've found is that play brings us back to our unique, original, and authentic self. And I have seen people literally transform in front of my eyes. Like I said, this one particular time that I did this workshop, I watched a woman who was very, very ill, who didn't want to come because she was like, that I didn't feel like coming. But I just watched her transform. By the end of the workshop, she was laughing, she had energy, and she said, you know what, I'm so glad that I came. I haven't played like this in ages. So it's like that playful part of us is not just about, playing with blocks or crayons or anything like that. It's so much more. It informs us about who we are. And not to keep rambling on, but I think that's one of the reasons adult coloring books have become so popular, because it actually makes us sit down. I do them myself, and it makes me sit down for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I get more in touch with that creative part of myself, that lively part. I'm sure my colors are all wrong to someone who has artistic being and knowledge, but I really don't care. And that's the way children are. When they play full out. And as adults, sometimes we need to learn how to do that. I think play is such a vital life tool. It just helps us to cope with life, helps us to change our lives, and so much helps us to learn who we really are, the person that we were born to be.
Absolutely. Before we go any further, Ruth, if people want to bring your workshop to their organization, how will they be able to get in touch with you?
There's two ways. They can email me at thepowerplaylady@yahoo.com. That's thepowerplaylady@yahoo.com. Or if they want to speak with me directly, they can call 443-620-4115. So those are the two most powerful ways of getting in touch with me. And they also can get in touch with me through the Sister Circle website. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the ways to get in touch with me, and I would love to do a workshop. There is a minimal cost for it, but we'll talk about that at another time. And it's to cover location and materials. And like I said, I think people, when they come, they walk away transformed. They walk away with something they can hold on to. Every once in a while, I see some people from my first and second workshop, and they'll tell me that maybe they still have their rocks in a prominent place in their home. And every time they look at it, it reminds them of how good they felt. Just like you were saying about snowboarding, that it left you with something that when you talk about it now, it's as if it happened yesterday. It's a very clear memory for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need. We need that because it becomes a beacon for us. It's like a reminder, oh, yeah, that's right, I can do this. Oh, yeah, there's something in me that says, oh, I can do this. I can do something different. I can take a risk. I can create change in my life. I can create my own reality. And it's just so important. So I love doing the workshops. And I usually keep the numbers small because I want people to be able to interact with one another. So I also do something, if they call me, we'll do a pre-work shop just to make sure that this is going to work for them. This is going to be something that will benefit them. So please, it's called a workshop on creativity, the other person in your chair.
I like that. I like that. And you made me think about just recently, my sisters came up to visit, and I laughed so hard. We just was being silly and, making everything somebody said, blowing it up, abstracting it out, and made it so funny that I'm here to tell you I laughed so hard. I felt so good the next day from that experience just to be able to laugh out of control. And it was, what we did was really nothing, but it was something.
Uh-huh. Laughter is the best medicine? Absolutely. Absolutely. Laughter is a wonderful thing. And I know you were at one of my workshops, and what I did was find comic strips and use those as a vehicle for conversation, but also for laughter. Sometimes some of the comic strips are really, really good, and they will make you laugh. We need to laugh more. Oh, my goodness. In our society right now, we need laughter, and this is around the world. We need laughter. And so very often we get so caught up in being adult and we get so caught up in the current news that we forget that we're human. We're human, and humans require laughter. We require, it's not something that we can do without. We require joy in our lives. And so sometimes I will tell people that one of the ways to get to that, especially if they're very down, is to write down 3 things that they're grateful for. And usually once you start a gratitude list, you can't stop because you start thinking about all the little things. And whatever is bothering you seems to step aside because there's so much to be grateful for. And laughter is one of those things that to be grateful for. When you can have a good laugh, and it's really one of those gut-level laughs that, like you said, you're like kind of like rolling around on the floor. Again, it changes you. It changes something in you. It releases things. It opens you up. When you're finished, your day is brighter.
Absolutely. And then sometimes I find myself riding along and I might think about an incident or something somebody said that just tickled me to death, and then I'll get all tickled all over again just thinking about it.
That is one of the things that I want to take a reverse of that, because one of the things that I do in the workshop is take people to the other side of that. And I have a couple of meditations that I do. And one of those meditations goes deep. And afterwards, I have people write about either what they experienced in the meditation or to write a letter to somebody to say things that maybe they have never been able to say. Now, you would think that that's a very grim thing in a workshop that's all about play. But sometimes in order to reach who we are, we need to go deep. And we need to touch base on those things that are sometimes painful. And once we start working through that, then we begin to become lighter. Then we become more willing to play. You'd be surprised at how many people are not willing to play. It's like it's just the wrong thing to do. And it's interesting because there is a doctor who did work around this. I believe it was Dr. Brown. And he discovered that with most inmates or many inmates who were in prison for very serious reasons, let's say homicide, that when he did a play history with them, one of the things that was missing in their childhood was play. That's how critical play is. Like I said, play is a vital life tool, and sometimes you've got to go deep in order to be able to help people let go and come out of themselves. And so part of the workshop is, I believe in having a couple of boxes of Kleenex around, because sometimes play can be very serious, and you've got to do that work to get to who you are. And see, that's really the key about play, is that it helps you to get to be to who you really are, the you that you let go of, you forgot about, it got talked out of you. And most of us walk around not being who we are. We're a socially acceptable model of other people's beliefs about who we should be.
Wow. And I think that is so true because, like you said, it stems back from your childhood. You once you get a certain age, you're no longer supposed to do this. Then you get another age, you don't do this anymore. So things begin to peel away.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to share something with you. I don't know if I shared it with you before, but I had the privilege of working at the Baltimore Convention Center, I think it was last summer, 2017. And it was a phenomenal art show. And I can't remember the correct name of it, so I'm not going to try to name it because I'm always saying it wrong. But it was phenomenal. You had the most beautiful artwork and extraordinary expressions of art from around the world. And the artists were there with their work. And when I had a chance to break away, I walked around and found myself, being the inquisitive person that I am, doing like mini interviews with some of the vendors. And the question that I asked repeatedly was, when did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Now, I'm talking about people who had beautiful, what you would call an opera coat, that sold for $2,500. I saw beautiful shawls that were made, all the dye, the design, everything was handmade. People who had collected amazing antique glasses. There was a beautiful kimono that was hanging literally from the ceiling because no one could touch it because it was like 200 years old. Artwork that was worth, tiny little picture that was worth $42,000. So this is the level that I'm talking about of art. And everyone that I spoke to, inevitably, they told me that they knew that this is what they wanted to do, to be between the ages of 4 and 7. I think the oldest one responded was 8. But at that early an age, they knew who they were. They were encouraged to be who they were. Or as one woman told me, she was determined that no one was going to talk her out of her art.
Wow.
And there's one man that I will always remember, and many people have heard of him, Aaron Paston. And he said that he's a sculptor, and his sculpture is amazing. When I walked around the corner of his exhibit, I literally stopped still because it's life-sized. And when I asked him, I spoke to him briefly, and I spoke with his wife. And again, he was 7 years old. I believe he said 7 years old when he first started trying to sculpt. And once he started, he knew this was his life's passion, and it showed. So that's why it's so important. Oh, my goodness, I can't imagine the number of people. I mean, we all have to work. Yes, that's all important because we have to survive in this world. But to come into contact with who you are and who you've always wanted to be, but you've been telling yourself, no, I can't, no. We tell ourselves no so much that I really enjoy giving people an opportunity to begin to say yes.
I love that because, yeah, we do. And then sometimes life hands us a hand, and we put our purpose on the back burner, and we forget about it. And and then you hear this thing where when this condition happens, then I'm going to get back to it, or when my kids grow up, or when I get enough money.
Absolutely, those are the top reasons that people do not do what it is that's in their heart. And I've been there. I am just beginning to come out of that, so I can totally identify with that type of thinking. There are things that I have wanted to do all my life, but I didn't have enough money, I didn't have enough time. There were 1,001 excuses. But as some people say, if not now, when? Do it now. If you don't do it now and you wait until another 10 years, you're just going to be another 10 years older. Nothing's really going to have changed. So do it now. Even if you can only use 15 minutes in a week, 15 minutes in a day to do something, to play, to do something that you really want to do, you really love doing. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be a Michelangelo or, some great opera star or anything like that. But if you decide that you want to take voice lessons because you've always wanted to sing, do it.
Yeah,
just the discipline of learning something. And it may not be singing, it may not be the arts, it may be, which I still consider to be an art, crocheting, knitting, quilting. Oh my goodness, quilting is a fabulous art. And you'd be amazed at how many people have thought about it and then said, oh, no, I can't do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the knowledge. Quilting is making a comeback, as is, believe it or not, basket making.
Oh, yeah, and I crochet. I like crocheting. I as a little girl, I did that, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I would be up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with my mother crocheting.
Awesome.
very relaxing. It's therapeutic. I really enjoy doing it. I used to make little hats and scarves and shawls and things of that nature. I've gotten away from it, of course, because my direction changed, but I really did enjoy doing that.
I'm glad you brought that up because it doesn't have to be anything monumental. But I'm here to tell you that sometimes the things that we do, many, many people leave behind the things that they've done, the little creative acts that they've done. And people really value them. And I'll share the one that I value because it has so many layers. Hopefully we have time for this. But I have a crocheted blanket. It's small. It's really a throw. But it was made by my grandmother for my mother. When my mother was in school, in the lower grades, she was in the school band. And so when my mother went away to college, Medical College of Virginia, she became a registered nurse eventually. My grandmother took her band cap and unraveled it and sewed it into this little throw. So when I was looking at it one day, I finally recognized something that I had missed altogether. I was folding it up and I was putting it away, and I said, wait a minute, that's my mother's band cap. And I remember growing up how my mother loved to walk around the house and she would be singing, and my mother loved opera. And so Saturday evenings, after she did all her housework, that the house was filled with music. And actually, my mother couldn't carry a note in the bucket, but she still loved singing. She loved to sing. I did not figure that out until one day when I was folding up this crochet blanket, that was actually who my mother was. That was her passion. That was her love, was music. And I was so startled by it that I was like, it literally made me sit down. It was like, oh my goodness, I've had this all these years. I've heard my mother talk about band and how she loved it, and we had the opportunity to see the Black Watch. And I remember how excited she was. But I never put it together. That was her passion. That was her love, music. And she never was able to fulfill it. So that's why I really love, there's a movie that I love, and you know that I've talked about it, The Shift by Dr. Dyer. And in it, that song at the end, do not die with your song still inside you. And every time I hear it, I think about my mother.
Wow.
That's why play as an adult is critical. Critical, heart-centered play for adults. It is absolutely a requirement for life.
Yes, absolutely. And one more time, Ruth, can you give everybody information to get in contact with you if they want to bring your I'm going to call it experience, because that's what it is. It's an experience to their organization or to themselves.
Okay, I'd be more than glad to do that. Again, my email is thepowerplaylady@yahoo.com, and that way we can set up a series of conversations that way. Or you can call me at 443-620-4115. Again, that's 443-620-4115. You can also find me through the website for asistercircle.org.
Yes, absolutely. Well, quickly before we wrap up, can you talk a little bit about your radio and television career?
Oh, sure, I'd be glad to. I was very fortunate. Again, it's one of those things that started in childhood. When I was very young, actually before 4 years old, I was living in the Bronx with my mother and sister and father, and sometimes my mother would fall asleep and I would fall asleep in bed next to her. And I don't know if many people remember the old-fashioned radios. When you turn them around, you could see the orange cathode lights. And my mother would leave the radio on at night. And I would wonder, how did those people get inside the radio? I was like, child's mind. But then I became enamored of listening to the radio. And my architects for me were people like Edward R. Murrow, the great news voices of the time. And I made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So much so that my mother at one time bought me records of these various news personalities. So it was really quite the beginning for me. And later on in life, I actually was able to go on the air in radio in Chicago, WEFM and also WBMX Chicago, and I worked in news and public affairs. So that was my radio training, and I really loved it, and I did a lot of interviewing, a lot of people on the street type of interviewing sort of thing. And then again, later on, I had one of those lapses in my creativity. I put it on a shelf, but I came into Baltimore, and I ended up working at what is now known as Fox 45 in the public affairs department, and had a grand time. I loved the writing, I loved the directing, I loved the producing, and all the post-production work, and I must admit, pretty good at it. It was just a joy for me. I loved seeing that finished product of even just splicing together those, finding the pieces that I wanted in the product, in the finished product, and then sitting down with an editor in the editing booth and bringing that to life as a completed piece. So, I really did enjoy my broadcast history. I did. It was a really great experience. I met a lot of wonderful people. Just really a good experience. And it's nice now to be able to bring that into a sister circle and use it again.
Absolutely. And as you all can hear, she has a beautiful voice, very captivating, and I'm definitely love her voice. That was one of the first things that I admired about you, Miss Ruth, is your voice. And I had already made up my mind that some kind of way I was going to get your voice out to the people in my circles. And won't he do it?
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So she also does voice acting. So if you have a book or whatever that you need put on Kindle and you want a voice behind it, Ruth Haskins is your woman, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation, Ruth. And as always, I just love collaborating with you. We're at the top of the hour, so one more time, if you can give our audience your information so they can get in contact with you either for your workshop or for your voice acting.
Very fine. I will be glad to do that. My pleasure. Again, the email is thepowerplaylady@yahoo.com. thepowerplaylady@yahoo.com, or you can reach me by phone, 443-620-4115. Again, 443-620-4115. And thank you so much, Miss Ida. It's been a pleasure. Again, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Always, always. And thank you, audience, for tuning in.
This show is brought to you by the amazing women of a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, where we are never in competition, but always in collaboration. And our valuable sponsors, Prodigy Accounting Service, Next Generation Accounting to get you where you need to be. Contact them at prodigyact1@yahoo.com or online at www.fli-inc.com. Ready to plan for your retirement? Contact Game Plan for Retirement. Call 410-902-0464 and schedule a free consultation.
Major decisions often require expertise we may not have. Buying real estate can be one of those decisions. Don't experiment with your real estate investment. Contact Realtor Tia Lewis, mad scientist of real estate, creating the perfect formula to solve all of your real estate needs. For a free consultation, call 240-351-0258.
Or would you like to know what a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, is all about? Contact us today at asistercircle@gmail.com and visit our website at asistercircle.org. That's ASISTAS circle.org. Voiceovers for A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, provided by Ruth Haskins, voiceover actor. To fulfill your professional voiceover needs or to receive her current professional demo, contact Ruth at 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.